Some weapons in Warframe get to enjoy the spotlight. Everybody likes them, everybody uses them, but equally so there are a bunch of weapons that kinda sit in the corner and nobody pays attention to them. The Harpak is one such weapon. Hey guys, hello and welcome back. As always, my name is Leyzar and today we're gonna be diving deeper into this Mastery Rank 7 primary weapon. I'm gonna be covering a cheap build, something affordable that anybody can build, but I also have an endgame setup with a Riven. That being said though, please keep in mind that my builds and guides follow a new player friendly approach, simply because there's a lot of info here and I want anybody watching to understand how the weapon functions and how it should be built. So if you're a veteran of the game and you already know most of this stuff, you can either skip ahead or have a bit of patience. And with that out of the way, let's jump into the Harpak. Let's begin by having a look at how the weapon behaves without any mods equipped, and for that I'm simply gonna be taking a couple of free shots. The Harpak is a semi-automatic burst weapon and you have two fire modes. In primary fire mode you will release 3 projectiles per shot, so you will be consuming free ammo, and the weapon has a climbing recoil, which means that the third projectile out of the chamber will land nowhere near the first projectile, so bear that one in mind. Now don't get me wrong, it's not that terrible. For close range and medium range shots, as you can see, it's okay-ish, but for long range shots it's gonna be a bit of a problem, and this is a common problem among burst weapons. It's worst on the Harpak because it's projectile based, not hit scan. As for the secondary fire, it's a harpoon that will allow you to knock enemies off their feet, and sometimes it does this. I have no clue why it does this, only sometimes again. The harpoon itself has a nasty drop off and a pretty slow travel time. Now, let's jump into stats to see precisely what we're dealing with. Mod capacity is gonna be 60 out of 60, and if your Harpak has only 30 out of 30, jump into actions and install the Auto King Catalyst. This one can be found from alerts, invasions, or if you're lucky, from the daily sortie, and you can also pay 20 plat to have one installed. Next, my weapon has been formatted a total of 4 times, but this was done only for the purpose of testing. For the weapon build, I'm recommending you guys free format should cover it. Simply add 3 V symbols to the weapon or Madurai symbols. The accuracy for primary shot is going to be 18.2, which is pretty decent. Again, as long as you can aim, you're going to be able to hit your targets exactly where you want to. Just keep in mind the climbing recoil and the free projectiles. Critical chance base 20%, which is decent, and a super awesome crit multi at 2.3x. Now this is higher than average, and the 20% unfortunately is only decent. The fire rate of 6, a magazine of 45, but effectively 15 shots with primary, and a reload of 2.0 seconds, which is pretty solid from my point of view. I wouldn't play with the reload on this one. The Riven disposition is going to be 5 out of 5, and this is probably one of the weapon's biggest strengths, the fact that it's not popular, which means we get a very high Riven disposition, and the amount of stats on Rivens is going to be sky high. Status chance of 17%, a tad low, trigger burst, and when it comes to the default damage on the weapon, we got IPS, impact, puncture, slash, and the highest amount by far is going to be puncture. Now, puncture will deal extra damage to heavily armored targets. Impact, nobody wants to hear about it, and slash, currently within the Warframe community, is somewhat accepted as being the best, no, I shouldn't say the best, the most efficient physical type because of the status proc it has. It will apply a damage over time effect that doesn't care about an enemy's armor, so it is very efficient. But, and this is totally subjective, I prefer puncture based weapons as I do not enjoy playing with slash. It's simply unsatisfying to me. So there you go. The secondary fire is called Harpoon, yeah, and the critical chance is a tad higher, 25% up from 20%. Same crit multi and a bit more damage but a lower status chance. As you saw there, the Harpoon is not exactly viable when it comes to sustained damage and should only be used for the crowd control component. For example, if you have a high level target that is tearing apart through your armor, health, shields, etc., you can simply knock it off its feet using the Harpoon, and that's what it's for. In any case, let's start slapping on some mods, starting with mandatory mod Serration, 165% extra damage. The base accuracy of the Harpak cannot take heavy caliber, and I advise against it. As you saw there, it's not exactly easy landing all of your projectiles on a target anyway, so if you add heavy caliber, all of that will go to hell in a handbasket, especially once you add some multi-shot to the weapon. Next, we're gonna go to multi-shot. The best thing on everything, split chamber, 90% multi-shot, and vigilante armaments with 60% multi-shot, totaling 150. Currently in Warframe, multi-shot is a very big deal when it comes to mostly any weapon, except perhaps grenade launchers, but that's another kettle of fish. Multi-shot will mean that you're going to be firing multiple projectiles with the click of a button, and it does not take additional ammo from your magazine, so bear that one in mind. It also has the effect on the stats screen to increase your status chance. Just keep in mind that this is a shot status chance, the chance of one of your projectiles applying a status effect. It's not true status chance like the 60 mods bring, for example. Next, crit chance, critical chance and critical damage, point strike and vital sense. And we got a 50% crit chance with a 5.1 crit multi when it comes to primary fire, 62.5 with the same 5.1 for the Harpoon, which again is decent. Considering this is a MR7 weapon, that's not bad at all. Next, you gotta decide what you're gonna do with the weapon. You have the option of going for a slash build with Hunter Munitions, and I'll show you that just a tad later, or you can build a weapon into elemental damage. Elemental damage implies that you know exactly where you're going and who are you fighting. A slash build, however, works well in mostly any circumstance. Mostly, not all. Getting back to elemental damage, here is a very short 60-second guide. If you're up against the Infested, then use AoE weapons heavily modded into heat. The Infested have 4 health types, each with their own unique vulnerabilities and resistances, so they can be a fair bit tricky. Check the info on the wiki. Next, the Corpus faction, they have big shields, and against shields you can build magnetic damage, but a smarter idea and more accepted from the players is to build Toxin or Gas, as it bypasses their shields entirely and deals damage to their health. So you're simply gonna bypass their whole damage mitigation. Or, for that matter, Slash, that would work fantastic as well. As for the Grineer, they have 2 armor types, Alloy and Ferrite armor. Alloy is weak to radiation damage and Ferrite is weak to corrosive damage. Against Grineer, more often than not, your safest bet is to build Corrosive, which is the elemental combo between Electricity and Toxin. Keep in mind that Corrosive on a status proc will be reducing the armor of the enemy, so therefore your subsequent shots will be dealing more and more damage. Electricity and Toxin, I said, didn't I? Yes, I did. Should I go for the 60 mods or for the 90 mods? Now, this is gonna depend on the level of content that you're doing. For example, perhaps you're doing your daily missions. I don't know, alerts, sortie, and so on and so forth. For that, I would simply go for the 90 mods. I would only go for the 60 mods if I'm facing level 100 plus. So bear that one in mind. High voltage is currently farmable from the game. The mission is called Naelgar or Naeglar on the planet Eris. You gotta find all the free secret caches, then upon extraction you got a 5% chance of getting this one or Shell Shock. You will need both of them eventually. The grind on Naelgar, however, let's just say it can be a whole lot of not fun and not rewarding, so if you want to pick this one up from the trade chat, you're going to be sparing yourself a whole lot of hassle. Currently on PC is going for about 40 to 50 plat. Toxin next. This one is called Malignant Force, is a lot easier to obtain, so therefore a lot cheaper as well. 60% Toxin and 60% status chance, and you can farm this one from Corrupted Vor in the Void, or you can simply pay 10 plat from the trade chat. And we still have one more mod slot left on the weapon, and this is what I like to call an option slot, as from my point of view it's a lot more important to cater each and every weapon to your own individual playstyle. For example, a lot of players enjoy punch through, and for good reason, yes, as well. Metal Auger 2.1 meters worth of punch through. That means that your projectiles are going to be going through your initial target and keep traveling, so therefore it's a form of AoE and it can be a huge DPS increase. Now that is one option, but let's pause for a second and let's take a look at the weapon. When you're looking at your status chance, 69%, and you know this is a shot status chance, you gotta take into account what exactly will proc, as not all elements will be procking at the same time. There is a proc priority, and there is one golden rule. Impact, puncture, slash, the physical types have a 4 times greater chance at proccing over elemental types such as corrosive. So you want to be looking at the IPS values times 4 to understand exactly what is the priority. In my case, I can't really catch up to puncture and proc corrosive, which is what I want, because this one is about 1,000 right now. What I can do is add infected clip or stormbringer, it doesn't matter which of the two, to get a higher corrosive value. I'm still not getting close to puncture, which on a status proc will be reducing the damage an enemy deals, but I do have a higher chance to proc corrosive now than without stormbringer. Again, it is an option, but perhaps you guys have more expensive mods. For example, here's a good one. Argon Scope. Now, Argon Scope is an event-only mod, the Acolyte event, currently on the trade chat PC for about 150 plat. I'll be honest here, it is worth having this one. Not necessarily for the Harpak, no, but it is worth having in general as it works fantastically well with any primary slash build through Hunter Munitions. And I'll show this one just a tad later. Again, that is a option. Let's test the weapon out like this. This is the base build I'm recommending to you guys, and we're going to be spawning in level 120 enemies. Corrupted heavy gunners as they are super tough, and some guys from Fortuna, because Fortuna is new. Yay, we're down on our valleys killing stuff. I am too. First, the corrupted heavy gunners. Let's see, what can we do? See that impact proc? Damn it, even with that low value, and it still procs sometime. As you can see, the weapon was capable of taking out a target relatively quickly. For an MR7 weapon, from my point of view, this is not half bad. As for the Corpus, I could have built against them gas or toxin, but I don't need to because normally Corpus are a bunch of wimps when it comes to their survivability. Just keep in mind that Corpus can be a pain in the butt when it comes to their abilities. They deal a lot of damage, or can deal a lot of damage, and they have some crowd controlling abilities as well. Of course, against Corpus I'm gonna be able to kill them a whole lot faster, even though my weapon is not catered to fight them. And this is pretty much base performance for the Harpak. Again, from my point of view, this is pretty decent. And you will see that this guy's head is full of arrows, because apparently it does kind of fire arrows. As for the crowd control component, it's actually pretty nice. Take a look at this. So you can crowd control your opponent before he crowd controls you, and you just can shoot him while he's down, because that's very honorable and all whatnot. What else can we do with the Harpak? That's the base elemental build. Well, what we can do is go for slash through Hunter Munitions, not through the weapon's innate slash value, as it's too low to increase with Fang Fusillade, for example. I mean, sure, you are going to be getting a higher slash value, but it's not close to the puncture, and overall, it's simply not worth it. What we can do is go for Hunter Mumu. Where are you, Hunter Mumu? There we go. My critical chance, however, is only 50%, and I'm not going to be getting a whole lot of slashes out of Hunter Munitions. Keeping in mind that first I need to crit, and then on that crit I got a 30% chance to apply a slash. So what I need to do is get more crit out of the weapon to get some value out of those slashes. So let's see, what can we do with crit? What you can do is go for Argon Scope. Again, I know it's expensive, but it will work nicely with this build. And we're also going to be slapping on Bladed Rounds. Now, what Bladed Rounds does is give you 120% critical damage when aiming for 9 seconds. This is an on-kill effect, and it's the same amount as Vital Sense. So it's a huge amount of crit damage, and keep in mind that base crit multi that the weapon has. So let's see it like this. Does it work or not? Same targets as before, and because of Bladed Rounds, we're gonna have to get a kill first. This little Corpus should do it. There we go. Buff is up from Bladed Rounds and from Argon Scope as well. And you will see that a build such as this can pack one greater punch. Look at those slashes, 1,445. Now that is definitely more impressive. Unfortunately for me, yes, it is a bit better than the elemental build, but it hinges on Argon Scope, not only Hunter Munitions, because without it, only a 50% crit chance through the use of Point Strike, it's simply not enough. You can also renounce Argon Scope and go for something like Arcane Avenger, but ideally we would want to use both. But Arcane Avenger is not exactly cheap either. That one is about 120 plat R3 currently on PC, so bear that one in mind. If you want a slash build for the Harpak, this is how you get it. You go for Argon Scope, and you also go for something like Arcane Avenger. Of course, the weapon will be a bit more potent like that, because hooray, Hunter Munitions on everything. In any case, there's one more thing that you can do when it comes to a slash based build for Hunter Munitions. You can draw Bladed Rounds and Vigilante Armaments, because I can't drop anything else, and you can go for a viral setup with Cryo Rounds as well as Infected Clip. I'm not going to be using the 60/60 mods, as I'm not interested in proccing anything off the weapon itself. I can't proc slash again. It's a very low chance, so I just want to proc viral, which will work very nicely with the slashes from Hunter Mumu. Now those mods are not expensive. I kept Argon Scope because again I do want to have a decent chance of activating that slash, and with Argon Scope the crit chance of the weapon goes to about 77%. And once again, hit it till about 50%. Viral on a status proc will be reducing the maximum health of your target to 50%, so for that limited amount of time your slashes are kinda dealing double damage. That's the idea behind viral and slash. So you see, you can go for an approach such as this. Your slash values have gone down because you don't have bladed rounds anymore. Critical damage would also mean bigger value on those slashes. But again, the value of Viral cannot be underestimated when it comes to basically everything. Viral is one of those fantastic elemental combos that will work good or decent, at least, in mostly any circumstance. So there you go. That's gonna be pretty much it when it comes to build options with standard everyday mods. Now I do have a Riven. It's a loaner from a friend, and this one has rolled absolutely superbly. Check this one out. It's a Harpak Krita Acri Can, critical damage, multi-shot, and critical chance. All that was needed extra on this one was a negative, and it would have probably been what is considered by Riven traders perfect. Now this one will set you back quite a bit of plat, but currently Harpak Rivens are going for about 15-20 plat unrolled. You can head on over to Kavat to see if you get lucky. I'm not gonna roll Hunter Munitions because this is my setup and I don't really like using Hunter Munitions. This is a corrosive base build, and you're gonna see the difference this one can make when it comes to Dispo 5 Rivens. Again, the roll is pretty good, so there you go. Yeah, I can chomp through a target a whole lot faster than before, and I'm kind of old-fashioned this way. When I shoot a gun, I want my target to explode in 1,000 little bitty pieces. I don't enjoy slashing it to death. It feels somewhat cheap to me, but there's no denying that it is a very effective way of playing. Yes, a Riven does make a difference, one hell of a difference. So if you love the Harpak, by all means, try to get a Riven. And you're probably gonna be asking me, what is the stat priority? What should I go for? Well, you can think of it kind of like this. Multi-shot and damage is never bad on anything. Multi-shot and damage on mostly any weapon is gonna be a good idea. Critical chance, critical damage on the Harpak will work nicely. What I would do is try to get my weapon to a 100% critical chance, or at least 95 or something like that, then prioritize critical damage. So there you go, look at that crit multi, 8.2x. Now there's one more thing which I want to do. As per usual, we're going to be bumping up everything with Warframe buffs, and I'm going to be using my favorite weapon specialist, Lady Mirage Prime. Now let's check out them buffs. We got Pistol Amp, which will do absolutely nothing for us. We're going to be using Rifle Amp, 27% extra damage to rifles. Amp auras in general don't provide a huge benefit. However, everybody in your party will be receiving this benefit, and it is stackable ×4. And you can also use Coaction Drift to get a bit more than 27. I think you can get something like 35%. When it comes to arcanes, these are a lot more impactful, and you can farm up from the Eidolons down on Cetus. Let's take a look at Arcane Rage. This one from the trade chat, you're looking at about 70 plat, something like that. DR free. On headshot, 10% chance for plus 120% damage to rifles for 16 seconds. And while this does says to rifles, keep in mind it's to primary weapons. As for your second arcane, what you can do is go for a bit more fire rate with Arcane Acceleration, or even better as before with Arcane Avenger. And this one will push my weapon to over 100% crit chance. I think 116, something like that. Now let's see what the weapon can do. Of course, we're gonna be unpausing the AI, and these guys were kinda start fighting themselves, but hopefully they'll hit me too so I can get my buff. Activate Mirage's free ability for a massive damage increase as well as the clones. Hit me, damn it. Of course, I can absolutely destroy these guys, but I wanted the critical chance from Arcane Avenger. There we go. Arcane Rage is up, but not Avenger. Avenger is up as well, and the Corpus unfortunately are not what I would call worthy targets because they die so easily. What about you, big guy? Yeah. That is definitely pretty powerful. Just keep in mind that my Mirage Prime is buffed with a whole lot of damage. The setup that I'm using is simply to see what a weapon is capable of. A setup such as this may survive in level 30, 40, 50, but if you want to take it higher than that, then you're gonna have trouble staying alive. Now you can rely on your teammates, or you can work the build just to drop a little bit of ability power and increase the survivability as well. And I believe that's pretty much it for the Harpak. It's a decent weapon. The problem with the Harpak is that it's a decent weapon in a sea of decent weapons. But if you enjoy this style of weapon, you like the whole Harpoon thing and the burst rifle component to it, then look into the Parasis. That's also a very worthy option. And that's pretty much it for the review. As always, my name has been Leyzar. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, favorite, share, and subscribe if you enjoy the content. If you have any feedback for me, then by all means, leave it in the comment section down below. Now, I can't exactly guarantee that a weapon suggestion would be done by next time or even within a week, because these things take a bit of time to make, but I will be reading through each and every comment. You can also find me on Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, all the usual places. Until next time, guys. Bye-bye.